Hi, welcome to today's video and thanks for joining me. Today we're going to be talking about this subject, what you need to do at the beginning of the year in order for you to have the best year ever and crush your goals. Okay, what if I was to tell you the secret to having the best year ever isn't about looking forward, but it's really about looking backwards. This method allowed me to identify 80% of my happiness came from doing only 3 activities, and 90% of my stress, 90% of my misery came from doing these certain activities. I'm going to share that with you in this video, and I'm also going to share with you the steps you need to take for your money, your relationships, your health. All of that's going to be in this video, so stay tuned. Now, I have to ask you a question. Do you want me to stay in my lane and just talk about retirement planning and investing? Put your comments below. But I have a feeling that 85% of the people that are watching this channel are my age and older, and you guys are all about living your best life. Everybody I meet in my age group and above, you are all doing really crazy, wonderful activities. You're living your best life. And I have a feeling that you want me to talk about this as well. So please put that in the comments. If you want me to share some more of this kind of style video, I'd be happy to do so, because I do love talking about this kind of thing, living your best life, and I really think the world needs a lot more encouragement. So without further ado, let's get into why you're here today. The first one is right along the thing that you've been watching over the last couple of years with me, and that is all about financial planning. So you need to do the first step right away is you have to be taking the balances, the end of your balances in your investment portfolios, plug those into your financial plan. That's what you're working with. That's your starting point. And we've got to make sure your financial plan has the right values, because when you do a plan in the beginning of a year and you run those numbers, quite often, your rate of return isn't exactly what the plan said. So you need to make sure you're starting with the right balances. That's key. Right away, get that done. If you don't have a financial plan, oh my goodness, I've been banging you guys over the head for a couple of years now about getting a financial plan. A financial plan or retirement plan, it's the same thing. It just matters where you are on the timeline. If a financial plan, I think, in my mind, this is how I view these two things. If you're younger and you're accumulating your assets on your way to having money for retirement, that's a financial plan. If you're near retirement, well, that's a retirement plan. You're looking for, I need my withdrawal strategy. I need to know how to take money out of these accounts, which accounts I should do in a tax efficient way. So those are the two differences, I think, between financial plan and retirement plan. Same thing, just a longer pre-retirement timeline than the other people. Okay, so the next one is planned expenses. What do you plan to spend this year? Especially, are there any big ticket items? But you need to be at the beginning of the year mapping out like 30,000 foot level right now, just like in the first exercise, because I'm going to take you deeper into this. What are the big expenses? Where are you spending your money? And positioning your portfolio in order to make sure that money is there and it's protected, okay? The next one is cash flow. Where are you going to get the money every single month? If you're working, so pre-retirement, that means you've got your employment earnings. That's fine. You might have rental income, whatever other earnings you got coming in. That's part of your cash flow. You might be living off of a non-registered portfolio and having that dividend income coming in. Maybe that's one of the things. If you're retired, where is the money coming from? Do you have rental income? Do you have RSPs? Do you have RIF income? Do you have a pension plan? That's your cash flow, and you want to say, okay, I know what my cash flow is this month. I know what my cash flow is this year, and everything is solid. So you need to know that in advance. Retirement date. Is your retirement date still sound? After last year, hopefully everybody was making gobs of money last year, and you're thinking, is my retirement date still sound? When we had COVID, leading up to COVID, you had a retirement date, and then that might have changed. You might have been forced into retirement, you might have chosen to go in retirement, or you may have said to yourself, I need to work 2 or 3 more years because of that event. So these big events can sometimes change when we're going to have retirement. So ask yourself again, is my retirement date still sound beginning of the year, so you know exactly what's going on. Next is a portfolio review. You need to get a portfolio review. Now, if you're doing it yourself, you need to ask yourself, are the investments that I have now, these are the ones that brought you into the end of the year, are they good for the next quarter or the next 6 months? These are the kind of things that are going to be able to give you the kind of return and risk reward. Is that what you need to be taking? I go back to the old days. I might be aging myself, but the dance card, the person you brought to the dance, is it still the person you're going to be dancing with next year? You got to be thinking about this because it's really important. What does your financial plan say about what you need in terms of rate of return, risk profile, what you're going to be withdrawing? Where is your financial plan? Your financial plan will tell you exactly where you're taking your money out of, what kind of accounts and how much, and the frequency. The next is your risk tolerance. Did you know that every year, if you're working with an advisor and you're in mutual funds, every year they have a legal requirement to have that conversation with you every single year? They have to have one meeting with you and they have to go through your risk tolerance. It is a required activity by every advisor in who has a mutual fund client. So if you're not having that conversation every year, there's something your advisor is skipping. So you pay attention to that. But what does it mean to you? A risk tolerance is really about an understanding. Has things changed for you in terms of your risk? Did you lose your job? Did you get promoted? Has your income changed? Did you experience a disability or some kind of illness that kept you from working, or permanently or part-time? What's changed? Has your attitudes changed about how the market is going to be or the economy is going to be? Have you become too risk adverse, or are you willing to go much deeper into specialty kind of funds? We really have to examine your risk tolerance. Who are you and what are you willing to get invested in? You need to examine that every single year. And I would say maybe even a couple times a year just to go through that, because when things go sideways in the world, your risk tolerance, you might want to change your risk tolerance. Okay. The next one is allocations. This is really just talking about equities versus fixed income. How much money do you have in slow, safer returns like bonds and GICs, cash accounts, money market? And how much money do you have in equities, and what kind of equities? Are these all in Canada? Are they in North America? Emerging markets, specialty funds like real estate? Are they a defensive position? I don't mean military. I'm talking about that they tend to do well in protecting your money in negative environments, as opposed to types of investments that take off when the economy is doing really well. So what kinds of equities specifically do you have? You need to go through that in your portfolio. And that relates back to your financial plan. Your financial plan forms the foundation of how you invest your money, right? If you do a financial plan and the financial plan says to get X, and then you just decide to invest any way you like, what was the point of the financial plan? So you need to have those things, they're married, okay, together. Your financial plan and your portfolio, they are talking to each other every single day. Okay, 6 months. I don't want you looking out too far. It's good from a point of view to understand what part of your money you need today versus 5 years, 10 years, 15 years. That's important. But when it comes to understanding what's going to happen in the economy and what's going to happen in the markets, you know what? The markets have short-term memory. More than 80% of the trading activity in the markets right now aren't you and I deciding to choose a stock or a bond or a mutual fund or a segregated fund. It's really algorithmic trading. This is computer-generated programs that are deciding when to buy and when to sell, and they do that on negative news or positive news. They're just looking for words that are coming out, specific words that are coming out, or dialogue or events or news that are related to positive or negative, and the sell and buy orders are going in. And it happens lightning speed. You and I can't keep up with that. And the markets are going to shift sometimes dramatically and shift very quickly. And so what I would say to you is have a conversation with your advisor. Look at your portfolio over the next quarter or 6 months. What investments do you both feel are going to provide the return and the risk profile for you, given your financial plan? And then review that. You could review it monthly, quarterly. I do reviews on a semi-annual basis as a minimum with my clients. Some clients are every single month. It depends on the client. But you need to have that kind of communication. So I would say to you, just look 6 months ahead and then look at the next 6 months after that, obviously. Cash account. Cash account is really about how do you use your money, the utility of your money. I like to have my clients having some cash positions so that that's what they're using to spend their money every month for their lifestyle expenses, rather than having that come out of a fund or a stock position. And if it's negative, it's quickly going to accelerate your account to zero. And let me explain why. This is called sequence of returns. This is examining what happens to someone when they retire, or usually in retirement, we're really paying attention to this. These are two different sequence of returns, but they all have the same annualized rate of return. You can see on the bottom right-hand corner, 4.8%. So what this is saying is the green line represents someone goes into retirement and they have the first 2 years of their retirement negative returns. And they ends up being 4.8%, but the first 2 years are negative. And look what they end up with, $472,000. Versus somebody that has two positive rates of return in the first 2 years, and they have $586,000. So more than $100,000 by having the first 2 years go positive versus the first 2 years go negative. That's called sequence of returns. Is incredibly important for you on how you invest your money. We talk about this retirement timeline. This is a decade, the 5 years before retirement and the first 5 years of retirement. So extremely important that you minimize the negative returns, because nothing will move your account or your investment accounts faster to zero than having negative returns during this retirement timeline. It's extremely important that you get with an advisor who understands the importance of this and builds a portfolio that will minimize the negative returns. Now, I've talked to you guys in other videos, but it's worth reminding you about the 3 buckets. I really believe this is an important way to manage your money, especially that first bucket on the bottom left-hand corner. That's your cash account that I referred to earlier. You notice that in that bucket, there's a 1, 2, and a 3 year. This really depends on your own risk tolerance. If you are very, very risk adverse and you're worried about the world, then you might have 3 years of cash saved up. Or if you're thinking, 1 year is enough, then you have 1 year. Essentially, this is the cushion. This is what's protecting your lifestyle. So if you have 1 year of cash, that's what you're going to use to spend all your lifestyle expenses. It's going to come from this cash account. That way, if the market does go into a negative cycle, you're not doing withdrawals in a negative portfolio. That will accelerate your accounts to zero faster than any other way. So have whatever you're going to spend in the year, 2 year, 3 year, have it in cash. Now, if you've got 2 or 3 years, you could have a laddered GIC strategy. You can have money in money markets. You're not trying to grow your portfolio here in this cash account. You're trying to protect it so that you can still have your lifestyle assets. The second bucket is really the one that's doing the heavy lifting. This has to replenish the first bucket. So whatever your spend is, if your spend is $50,000, $100,000, $120,000 per year, that middle bucket has to have enough money in it that's going to produce a return that's going to replenish what you're spending in that year. So that's really important for you to figure out with your advisor. What are you going to put in equities and fixed income in, specialty funds? The third bucket at the top right hand corner, has a higher risk profile. You're going after longer, higher returns here, that if those go negative, it's okay. It's not money you need for 10 or 15 years from now, so you don't have to worry about it. You're trying to go after longer, potentially higher rates of return. And then that bucket will eventually fill up the middle bucket, and it's like this waterfall effect, going from the high risk return profile and moving money into the middle bucket that's being replenishing the first bucket. So that is the 3 bucket strategy. I'm big on that. I really like my clients spending all their lifestyle expenses from cash and not worrying about the market, so that you can just let the market recover, do what it needs to do, and your life for that year or 2 year or 3 year is totally protected. Let's talk about cash flow again in a little bit more depth here. What are the big withdrawals you're going to have this year? Vacations, mortgage renewals, car leases, renovations. You want to think in advance, what are the big things that you're going to be doing? When you talk about vacations, maybe you're having a big family vacation before the kids are going out on their own, they're married and they have their own lives and their own schedules. Maybe it's those like one-off bucket list kind of vacation that you've always wanted to get to. It's going to cost a little bit more money. Is your mortgage coming up for renewal? Are these rental properties that have mortgages coming up for renewal? Your car lease. I talked to you guys in your retirement plans about you're going to be replacing your car 2 or 3 times throughout your retirement. When are those coming up? Are you leasing it? Are you buying it through financing? Are you paying cash for it? And renovations. Many of you do not want the same kitchen, do not want the same bathroom when you go into retirement. You want to have a different look, right, to your retirement. And so maybe it's also downsizing. So these are big ticket items, and you need to examine that right away at the beginning of the year. Position your money in such a way so that you can go ahead and do this. The last thing you want to be doing is you go to maybe do this vacation and the market starts to tank and you're doing withdrawals for your vacation and you go, I don't want to do a withdrawal, the markets are negative, let's go into debt, let's use credit card or let's use lines of credit. So that's something you want to make sure you avoid, using debt when you don't really need to if you plan ahead. Okay, this is the part of the video that we're talking about your personal goals. And I get excited about this. This goes back in the history of the things that I did with my previous life, but I really think this is an important thing for you to begin, especially as you're moving through retirement. You're retiring. Some of your friends are changing because you're leaving work and leaving some of those relationships behind, and you have to examine, okay, what's new? What kind of friends do I have? What kind of activities do I have? What makes me happy? What has made me miserable? And so it's kind of like a life audit. So here's how you do this life audit. If you want me to do a longer video on this, put your comments below and I'm happy to talk about a longer video. But here is the quick version of this. You're going to take a piece of paper and you're going to divide it in half. And on the left-hand side, I want you to write out the activities that brought you the greatest amount of joy, the greatest amount of happiness. Not so much about the time you had to invest in it, but just simply write out on the left-hand side, what are the activities that brought you the greatest amount of joy and happiness. So when I examine my own life, I know it sounds like I'm sucking up here to my wife, but my wife has been my best friend all of our time together. I hope and pray that it's always that way. But if I have an opportunity to spend time with my wife, check that off. I'm going to do that all day long. Next, of course, are our kids. Our kids, we have 3 kids. They're not kids anymore, and they got their own lives. We've got a boy that just turned 20, and we've got 2 daughters that are older and have their own lives. And so whenever we get a chance to spend time with them, like, I'm ready for it. Let's do it. So check that off. Those 2 activities bring me the greatest amount of joy. And then there are other activities that I love. I actually love my work, as long as I'm not too stressed out about it when I get too busy. So that's that part of the right side of the page of activities that bring you misery and make you unhappy and cause stress. So part of my job is doing planning, but when I get too busy, I get stressed. I don't have time for my family. I don't have time to catch my breath. I don't have time to eat. Sometimes I skip meals, I work late, and that causes stress in my life. So what I examine is, okay, I got to have some kind of schedule that allows people to have access to me without really getting me too stressed. So that on the left-hand side of the page, you examine what kind of activities. I love going home and seeing my family. When we go on vacations, love going on trips. One of our daughters just got married this past year in 2024. One of the greatest joys of our lives, besides having our kids. And so these kinds of activities I want to have more of, right? And then when I look at the activities that brought me the greatest amount of stress, and I think about overworking, my schedule too much, like having too many meetings in one day, using my time unwisely. So having outside appointments that are far, that eat up a lot of my time where I could be working more efficiently, talking to people that I really shouldn't be talking to, that I should download that to other people on my team in order to doing videos. It takes a lot of time to actually put a video out and have it edited and have come up with the concepts and the ideas and the thumbnails and the everything that goes with doing videos. That causes a lot of stress, believe it or not. If you want to be able to say, I'm going to post 2 times a week, you actually have to carve out time in the schedule to say, I can't do anything else but do this right now because it's important to put a video out. So there's certain activities in my life that I realize that I have to download to other people, like video editing. And that would save a tremendous amount of time. So when I look at my own life and I see the things that cause me the greatest amount of joy, it's family, vacation, and work. I actually enjoy work. So those are the 3 activities that I love, that bring me the greatest amount of joy. The things that don't bring me the greatest amount of joy is when I get overworked, when I'm talking to people that I shouldn't be talking to, that should be delegated to other people, because those are time wasters. They take me away from the things that I should be doing that drive my business forward. So, and just generally just being, and also the thing that I'll add to this is not getting enough sleep. I work a lot, crazy hours, and sometimes I don't get enough sleep. And so that's one thing I'm working on right now, is to get more sleep. So when you go through this list and you put down on the left-hand side the things that brought you the greatest amount of joy and the things that brought you the greatest amount of misery, then you look at sort of like an 80-20 rule. What are the activities that brought you 80% of the greatest amount of joy and greatest amount of happiness? And you're going to circle out 3 of those. You're going to say, these are the 3 activities that brought me the great. So 80% of how many ticks you have there in terms of bullet points. And then the same thing on the negative side. You have to say, okay, I'm going to now do more of these and less, or eliminate the ones on the right side that cause you misery and pain and suffering and general unhappiness and being grumpy. So it's important for you to examine which ones you need to do more of and which ones you need to do less of. At the beginning of each year, I'm a planner, right? So the beginning of each year, I love getting out old school calendars. I actually still use a day timer, and I have a digital calendar. And I start mapping out what are the things that I want to be involved in this year. So one of them is all of the holidays that I'm going to be part of. Obviously, when you think about whether it's religious holidays, birthdays, events, that kind of thing. Is somebody getting married that's close to us, and having to say, by the way, the other thing is saying no to people, and saying, I can't, and I'd really love to come, but I have this. So I schedule out all the things that are extremely important to me that are on the family side, all the birthdays, all the anniversaries, all the weddings or whatever we're getting involved with. Then I look at when I'm going to take vacation, and I look at my own schedule and say, when can I not go away because business is really important? People need access to me at this time of the year. So I have times of the year where I can't go anywhere because my clients need me. And then there are times of the year where I know my clients are off on vacation and doing their thing, so I've got a breather and I can go away as well. So I schedule in when I'm going to travel, when we're going to go away and have some of our own fun as well. And then I look at when are the activities that I'm going to be doing, things like conferences, educational events. In our industry, we do a lot of educational events. We do a lot of studying, a lot of courses. So I schedule all those in, and then that sort of is my structure of my year. And then I start thinking about daily activities, when I'm going to sleep, when I'm going to eat, when I'm going to work out, when I'm going to study. All those things go into my calendar. So I love planning. I love scheduling these kinds of activities, and I hope that you do. And I hope that that little exercise helps you to figure out how to add more joy and happiness in your life, and how to eliminate or minimize some of the things that cause you a great amount of stress in your life. Okay, the next few things, and we're almost done. Relationships. What I want you to consider are, what are the relationships that are adding to your life, and which are the ones that are subtracting from your life? And that includes you too. Are you a subtractor in people's lives, or are you adding in people's lives? And that's an important question to ask yourself. Are you someone who is adding value or subtracting? And I like to immediately, when I'm around somebody, it's just, I think, my zodiac sign, but I feel people's energy right away. And if I'm at a table and somebody is negative, I physically feel ill and I start to get a headache. And I'll get up and change a table if I have to, because that is not a good environment for me to be in, or anybody. It's killing the energy, right? So you need to examine in your life, especially as we're getting older, who are the people that are adding joy in our lives, and who are the ones that are creating drama and adding misery in our lives. And you need to somehow, I'm not here to tell you to do it, but you need somehow how to guard yourself against the relationships that are causing you harm, really. Okay. The next one is about money. What is your relationship to money is a good thing. One of the things that I see in people who are about to retire is this aversion to spending your money. Part of it is based out of fear. You're worried about running out of money. And the other is conditioning. You've been conditioned to save your money. Do you remember in my videos how I say that people have a contribution strategy, but they don't have a withdrawal strategy? Well, all your life you've been putting money, every single paycheck, into your investment accounts. It's been part of the DNA of who you are. And then we have a meeting and I say, okay, you need to spend this amount of money every year or you're going to leave it behind for Canada Revenue, and it just rubs you the wrong way. So you have to start to develop a different relationship with your money, and understanding that your money now, as you're approaching retirement, is there for your enjoyment. It's there for your utility, for you to use it. It's what you've been saving up for all these years. It's why you've sacrificed. It's why you've said no to doing certain things or buying certain things, because you are waiting for this moment. And this is the time for you to actually use that money to create joy, happiness in your life. And that's why I'm encouraging you to think differently about money, that it's time for you to actually make money your friend and start to put it to use and live life on your terms and have the freedom to actually enjoy it. Okay, health. I've been in this business 24 years now. And I did this video, up here, I'll point to it, about CPP, my attitudes around how to use CPP and when you should take CPP, and you guys went crazy, good crazy. I love your comments. And your health is the one thing that I want to tell you from somebody who's managing money for 24 years, someone who has been doing life insurance and underwriting for 24 years. I know death rates intimately, and what people die from and what causes a lot of deaths. It's not something I read about. It's something that I've experienced firsthand. At one point in my life, I had 6,000 clients, okay? And I had 5 to 6 death claims a month to do. And not everyone was 85 and 90 years of age. And so the most important aspect of your life is your health. As you move into retirement, you have to think very, very carefully about your health. What you eat, what you're drinking. You got to move every day. And so one of the things that I keep saying to myself is every day I have to move 30 minutes. Maybe it's 45 minutes. Every day I have to move. And it's actually on my list of the things that I love to do that cause me the great amount of joy and happiness is walking. My wife and I walk about 3 times a week. I bite my tongue. Sometimes we don't because it's too cold or it's raining. But we love walking. It's our time for each other to talk and reflect on things, and just sometimes it's venting and sometimes just talking about the things that we're excited about and what we want to do. And it's exercise at the same time. So your health is extremely important, and I encourage you to pay attention to that. Move every day. Activities. What are the activities that you're getting involved in pre-retirement versus retirement? And some of these activities you might have to let go of because it's harder for you to do the activities. Physically, it's more demanding on you. What are the activities that are not just physical activities, but brain health as well? Your cognitive health. What are the activities that you're using your brain every day? When you're at work, you're active, right? Not just physically. If you're in an administrative role and you're using your brain every day, and then you go into retirement and you might be active, you might be doing physical things, but some people forget about having cognitive health, that they stop reading, they stop using their brain, they stop doing calculations. Your brain is a muscle and it needs to be worked every single day. So I would say to you, as you enter retirement, really consider about what are the mental activities that you're doing to make sure that you always are sharp and your brain is working at 100%. Well, that's the end of today's video. I hope you loved today's video. It's the longer video. Usually I'm trying to get them done with 10 to 15 minutes, but today I wanted the first year of the video to really connect with you and share things that are close to my heart that I hope that are close to you. Again, let me know how you felt about the content of this video. If you want me to stay on the rails and just talk about retirement planning, then fine. I know exactly what you want from me. But if you do want me to speak on occasion more about life, lifestyle, then let me know in the comments below. As always, I enjoyed speaking with you today, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Thanks, and be well.